So 1:30 starts, and looking at probably 44, I think, to go in the first round of this $20,000 wrestling. 135 pre here this afternoon. Also the Section 2 for the juniors and amateurs. Ribbons for those, but more importantly, that prize money, $20,000 in the prize fund. Wrestling is our consistent sponsor here. Great to have them on board. And throughout, they're proven to last up to 1 year. Wrestling Kais as part of their range. Thanks to Wrestling, continued support of the sport here in the US, of course. 44 of you to go. 81 seconds time allowed as part of our national Grand Prix this afternoon.
Well, folks, we are just under the 15-minute mark away from this feature class this afternoon. Wrestling Meter 35 pre coming up. We offer $20,000 in prize money, and we'll be starting up here again at 1:30. 50 will compete for the prizes. Wrestling, of course, is our advertising partner. Wrestling Kiss, part of the Wrestling portfolio, the newest hyaluronic acid lip filler designed to enhance lip volume, reduce fine lines above the upper lip, and provide a natural look and feel. Along with Wrestling, several others have supported our show jumping events here, Split Rock Jumping Tour 2020, so we'll turn your attention up to the big screen.
Restylane Kiss, a lip filler for natural looking volume and kissable softness to keep telling your story beautifully. Common side effects include swelling, tenderness, bruising, pain, and redness at the injection site. Tell your story like never before with Restylane Kiss.
I just love horses. I love a life with horses. When I was a kid, I didn't have any particular lofty goals about going to an Olympics or doing anything else. All I knew was I wanted to go out and be with those horses every day. So whether I was cleaning out a stall or taking them out to the pasture, the field, or riding, it didn't matter. I just wanted to be with those horses. And it's true to this day. The vast majority of these competition horses that are on the road, eating extruded feeds, living under so-called unnatural circumstances for them, are going to have ulcer, stomach, gastrointestinal disorders. And a product, Alaman, just is the real deal. We started with it because of one of my daughter's horses that had a chronic stomach issue, and we got a dramatic result. It is the complete package for gastrointestinal, digestive health. And a product like Alaman could go a long way to helping you and your horse stay healthy and comfortable.
Learn more about our full line of natural equine supplements at vitalizeeq.com and win the game against digestive upset.
I'm Javin Dahlman with Dahlman Jump Co. Our easy-to-use aluminum schooling courses start at $49.50. We deliver them to your door and take your trade-ins. All of our jumps are backed by a lifetime warranty. Get horse show ready with Dahlman Jump Co. Make sure to visit dahlmanjumpco.com for more information.
These lips lift me up and keep me grounded, mostly. And these lips have a story to tell with Restylane Kiss, a lip filler for natural-looking volume and kissable softness. Do not use Restylane Kiss if you have allergies to any of its ingredients, including lidocaine or bleeding problems. Common side effects include swelling, tenderness, bruising, pain, and redness at the injection site. Unintended injection into a blood vessel can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, scabs, or scarring. Learn more at RestylaneUSA.com. Tell your story like never before with Restylane Kiss.
Vikings didn't actually have horns on their helmets.
Napoleon wasn't really short.
Ostriches don't really stick their heads in the sand.
A peanut is not a nut.
And a real John Deere is actually real affordable.
You learn something new every day. The surprisingly affordable John Deere E-Series tractors. Nothing runs like a deer.
Of all the things I've done with my horses, I would say I am most proud of, I guess, the partnership I've been able to have with them.
These lips lift me up.
Of all the things I've done with my horses, I would say I am most proud of, I guess, the partnership I've been able to have with them. In terms of Casal, the places he's taken me, the teams we've been on and jumped on, winning some of the Nations Cups has definitely been a staple. You know, you hear everybody say, if you love what you do, it's not a job, but it really rings true. It doesn't feel like this is my job. Having a good relationship with your horse is extremely important. They compete and they travel so much that you really take them out of their natural habitat and put them into such a stressful surrounding. Not only just competing, but jumping, shipping, even flying all over the world. So it is of the utmost importance to keep them and their guts and their stomachs happy. We've had some horses in the past that kind of felt like they had ulcers. They're just fidgety, they're uncomfortable, they're ornery, and it's just they do not perform well at all. And so in order to keep them happy, we need to keep their guts happy. When we started using Vitalize Element, they were happier, they were mellow, they wore their ears forward more, there were no ornery horses kicking in the barn. It should just more or less be a staple in every horse's diet, no matter if you're on the trail riding or competing at high levels. It's just something to eliminate any issues that you or your horse might have. And it's just so easy. You just add it to your diet every day, and it does nothing but benefit the horse.
Learn more about our full line of natural equine supplements at vitalizeeq.com and win the game against digestive upset.
So 1:30 start for our $20,000 wrestling, 1:35 National Prix here this afternoon, and around 44 to go in the first round of this jump-off class underway in a few minutes at 1:30, just around 8 minutes.
I know that was a joke when it came out, but once it hit my ears. wouldn't mind having the conversation. Totally. Totally. That's one of the main reasons I refrain from saying it.
One, two. 1, 2. Hey, hey. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. 1, 2. Getting close to starting here, just about 3 minutes away from our 1:30 kickoff of the $20,000 Restylane Meter 35 National Prix, another of our feature events as we're in the weekend here for our Split Rock Jumping Tour. Callan Solom is with us now as we're getting ready for the kickoff, just testing microphones. Callan, if you'll say a few words about your history, your career, who you are as a person.
Not sure we have that kind of time.
It's not necessarily in a psychotherapy sense. We just want to check you out.
No, I'm so happy to be here. I have.
Oh, thank you. Hi. I'm so happy to be here, and looking forward to watching this class. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio, and Derek and his team have done an amazing job putting together this event in a difficult year to do so.
That's perfect. In here or out there? She's not coming out there, is she? No, none of this is locked. Okay. Well, no, I didn't think so, but I thought I heard it coming out of the speakers. No, it's just in our. You're not getting anything from us now, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are as we are about to see our first entry in competition for this $20,000 Restylane Meter 35 National Prix. 50 starters have turned out today for the feature Saturday event at the Split Rock Jumping Tour Columbus 2-star competition. And the top of the order is New York native Georgina Bloomberg, who's aboard the Purple Road LLC entry Shamir 137, Westphalian gelding by Cayetano L. Georgina Bloomberg, a long-time top-level rider. She's one of the riders who not only had the COVID break that all of us were a part of this year, but also took a little additional time to sort of get back into action. But she started off the week nicely with a win in a speed class with Paola. Right now she's here aboard Shamir. And I'm Brian Lookabill, glad to be with you along with Callan Solom, one of our also top-level international competitors.
Hi there. It's nice to be here, and it's fun to see George on Shamir again here. This is a horse that she jumped in the World Cup finals. This is a really top pair, and I think probably just doing this class to get a little fitness back in the ring after a break.
And she, that World Cup final in 2017. This was her mount, and also was a finalist back in 2015. She's already made short work of the course so far. Looks like a penalty-free round in our first one out of the blocks, approaching the last combination, 12AB. One stride there over the Dahlman Jump Co. verticals and around the bend to this solid white oxer with that water tray. That's number 13, and she'll wrap it up. Time allowed here, by the way, folks, is 81 seconds. Shamir 137 does it in 79.656. So it looks like the time is quite doable here. 79.656 with 0 faults. And when you have a first clear out of the blocks, it bodes quite well for a jump-off. This is a national class with a 2A format, which means they'd come back later on for the jump-off if there is a tie for first. And again, I feel quite sure that that's going to be the case here today. We've got a 7-year-old Holsteiner stallion by Darko and German rider Christian Heineking here with NKH Mr. Darcy, one of the NKH LLC entries. Younger mount competing here today. And, of course, Christian Heineking's also had a podium position yesterday in our competition. He made it on into that 12-horse Restylane Welcome. So he's had a nice week so far. Unfortunately, he's going to pull the rail at the front of fence number 3, the Split Rock Oxer.
Yeah, this horse is just in a little bit different place in his career than the first horse that we saw. But he looks like exciting for the future, and with Christian teaching him, I'm sure that he'll learn a lot these couple weeks here.
And Christian Heineking, along with his wife Erin Davis Heineking, will both be competitors in the class here today with multiple entries. So looking forward to seeing what she also has to offer. Up to fence number 8, which also comes down now.
Yeah, I think that's a nice line with the combination bending to the oxer and then to a vertical. That's a little bit, having 4 different obstacles in that line is a little bit more of an advanced question. So for a younger horse like this, you could see he jumped the double really well and then just fell apart a little bit in his balance and his rideability. Has a rail there, and then Christian's able to put it back together there nicely.
This is a very nicely put together horse, by the way. NKH Mr. Darcy, very fantastic type, and looks like he's got a great jumping style as well, and potentially a big performer on the main stage going into the future. So even though he does have 8 faults today, 79.432 the time, again, that is a young horse in development, 7 years old, and we're looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer in years on in his career. Maybe even just months on in his career. Obviously, we're coming to the end of the 2020 season, and things are about to get heated up as we migrate south and end up into the Winter Series happening in Wellington, in Ocala, possibly some out west as well in California. Graciela Robert is next to go. We've had 2 professionals so far, one from the U.S., one from Germany. Graciela Robert, one of our amateur riders who are non-professionals. And Casanova B, the Bay Dutch Warmblood gelding by Viento Uno W, another contender for the U.S. She's off and running now. They start out over the what we call the wrought iron oxer here. Obviously,
Not exactly made out of wrought iron, but meant to look like that as fence number 1. They round the bend to jump the line of 2, the Horseflight vertical, 3, the split rock oxer on the end there. Of course, our advertising partner, Restylane, brings us the oxer in front of the scoreboard. And then the first combination, as you can see, she's approaching right now, the neon vertical to oxer. 2 strides there. Coming out and approaching the Animo vertical, the Animo meter 20 division, having just wrapped up before we set for this National Prix. Second combination is over the Polo Mallet oxer and vertical, coming across the arena in the opposite direction. And there's that line you were talking about, bending to 8 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I'd say she's doing a good job. She's having a clear intention for sure. I think she has not been weak in any of her choices, which is paid off so far.
Coming around the bend of the final jump here, and
great
time allowed of 81 seconds. She's going to post a time of 82 on the dot, in fact. So unfortunately, while she was clear over the jumps, the pace wasn't what it needed to be, and that is going to be just 1 on the clock. Also out of the amateur ranks, Hidden Brook Farm entry, we have Chloe Field on next with Rubina 8. Now we've already seen a 7-year-old mount sort of on the other end of the spectrum, a very experienced 16-year-old Chestnut Swiss Warmblood mare by Rubens du Ridas. This is Rubina 8, rather. Chloe Field again among our amateurs competing here, the 3rd U.S. rider to show.
Yeah, Chloe knows this horse well, and so this should be, she should be looking forward to showing her old friend here. Yeah, this is a quick mover, so I would be surprised if she ran into any trouble with the clock.
You will pay attention to places where riders could possibly make sure they're not going to get those time faults in the parts of the course where maybe they're not as technical. Tighten some turns where you're not going to necessarily cut off your opportunity to get an accurate ride to the base of a jump.
Yeah, and again, these two know each other really well, so that oh, that was too bad. Be just a little bit deep there.
All right, so one knockdown so far as she does the roll back to the Alaman vertical. Left-hand turn after that, and the home side line goes over the green as the new blue oxer at 11. Dahlman jump coat combination. We've got A down there as well. So penalties in 2 combinations so far. Approaching the last jump and doing so in a time of, well, it will be a little over, 81.388. So it will be 1 on the clock added to the 8 jumping. 9 the total for Chloe and Rubina 8. For Ireland, we have Paul O'Shea back to the professional ranks now for one of their team riders at World Game and the Nations Cup final events. He's also had some big Grand Prix wins in his career, of course, based here in the U.S. Aboard Primo Haval, this is a Bay Royal Dutch Warmblood gelding by Zeval VDL. Paul O'Shea, the owner and rider of Primo Haval. Riding horses for a couple of different owners here this week.
Yeah, it doesn't give us the age of this horse, but it looks like a really a younger horse that he's producing for the future. It looks like a nice talent. He has the back rail of A behind. That's a mistake that younger horses can make. I think when he got in the air and he saw the vertical there coming up, he just didn't quite finish his jump.
So his focus was on the next jump, not necessarily on finishing the one he was in process with.
Exactly.
Another knockdown there in a combination. This time the vertical going in at 12. And they get to the finish line at 82.954. So while our first entry, Jordy Bloomberg and Shamir 137 showed that the time allowed could be done, 79.6 and change was their effort there, the others have not been able to do so to this point anyway. And, of course, we had Graciela Robert, who was clear over the jumps but finished in 82 flat. So she ended up with just one time fault. So right now it's Giorgino leading in that one time fault entry in second. Paul O'Shea's effort there wraps up with a total of 10 faults, 8 on the course and 2 on the clock. For Mexico, next to go will be Angela Gonzalez. Among our juniors, riding AG Ariane LLC's Cosette 2. Entry number 737.
Yeah, I think as much as we can get ahead of the time allowed in the beginning of the course, that's always helpful in case you have something come up that you need a second to sort out a lead or, do something. So I would be thinking about jumping the first jump even a little bit left to right, getting right over to this vertical. This is a steady 6 anyway she's doing there, so you don't need to come from too far away. Get ahead of it right in the beginning. And get right over to this double.
And if you make up that time, as you said in the beginning there, then you can sort of focus on some of the more technical aspects as the course builds, being a little more difficult as you get into the meat of the course in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm afraid this looks maybe a little slow too.
Yep. And at some point, I'll try to get a mark about halfway through the course where we'll know whether or not they actually are going to have any issues on the clock. But for right now, we can just tell by the pace that it may be an issue. Just by the way the horse is going. Of course, they also have the rail down there at the Animo vertical. And we're approaching the last jump now, carrying 4 faults for Mexico's Angela Gonzalez and Cosette. Her 83.331 time will meet out exactly what we were saying. Just a little bit lack of pace going around there to make it to the finish line within the time necessary. Dylan Daly rides for Ireland. He's the second rider from that country now here aboard Eye Candy Jumper's entry. Recent acquisition for him as a ride aboard Flying Dachshund, 11-year-old bay warm blood mare by Rusidsky out of Miss Ireland. He's been here in the U.S. this year showing at the Split Rock Jumping Tour Lexington stop. That was back in June, basically one of the first events that brought us out of that mandatory break. And then went up to Traverse City thereafter to show a couple times in the Open and Grand Prix level events in Traverse City at the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival Series.
He was neat there. And this is also a little bit quicker mover, so if he stays neat on the track, he could get inside that time.
.32 seconds on the landing side of 6. Let's just keep that time in mind.
All right, a little rub at the vertical there in front.
.7A sort of looked like a late falling rail there.
Boo.
Rocked that one and it dropped eventually. Still possibly not a problem with the pace though. Remember, I think it was 32 on the landing side of the Animo. And again, we're trying to stay under 81 seconds allowed. Rocked the rail on top of the second vertical on that combination as well, but it stayed in the cups. They will finish well under 74.365. So you were right about the pace based on your assessment early on there, Callan. Dillon and Flying Dachshund made it with no trouble on the clock, but 8 jumping faults. 2 knockdowns happened there in the course of the round. And I told you earlier that Germany's Christian Heineking was going to also have his wife joining us. Here she goes. Another fairly young mount at 8 years of age. And this is a Chestnut German Sport Horse gelding by Stanley, San Diego, number 709. Aaron Davis Heineking, a Fort Worth, Texas native. She was also a part of our Split Rock stop in Lexington back in June. Typically shows out on the West Coast in thermal California in the early parts of the year. She did nicely in the Grand Prix there this season. Took a nice win also in Wellington during the Masters Series early in the year. I believe we're already working on a rail down there at number 3. And got a little out of the tack coming on the landing side there of 5B, but fortunately she regained her composure, got back in the saddle, and stayed nicely to fence number 6. You got to learn how to, I guess, recover when something like that happens, Callan.
Yeah, and these horses that are a little new at this height, but also physically very capable, they can use a little bit different technique here and there, and that can be a little surprising as a rider when you're like, oh, that's not the shape I thought he was going to make there.
Right, and as you're just dealing with a new horse, you're learning that. You don't necessarily know it until different circumstances arise, and they may jump differently at different parts of the course or in different environments.
Right, their reaction to making a little mistake or whatever. So she's doing a good job to stay with it. We have to clarify. Yesterday for Margie Engel.
I'm going to straighten that out here in just a few, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. When you're on the microphone and you are meant to be talking throughout the course of a competition, you can say one thing at a certain point, need to move on to another point, and what you meant to say doesn't necessarily come across that way. So we'll address that here shortly.
Okay.
I heard from Margie earlier that it was reported that she was from a certain era, which, yes, I did say, but I did not mean it in the way that it was taken. So I'll get to that here shortly. Anyway, we'll move along now to Donovan Caroline Ross, another amateur rider coming up here aboard a Halo Capital entry. Gray Oldenburg mare by Cartagran. This is Magic. And she's already underway. By the way, I have to call out, you may not be able to hear it if you're viewing from home, but as Donovan Caroline Ross began her course here, leave it to DJ Miracle, who has been a great part of the Split Rock Jumping Tour, to cue up the right music. I Got the Magic in Me is playing while they're making their way around the course. It makes a nice little part of the show here a little bit more fun.
Definitely. With when I had the horse Wizard used to always play Pinball Wizard when he went, right?
Yes, I did. Working on 4. The Restylane fences down, and we now also have a rail at number 8, going into that line from 8 to 9. So 8 so far. Another knockdown there at fence number 11. So we're working on 3 penalty fences so far and another at the end. 4 knockdowns. All told 16 jumping faults. 83-134 adds another 2 on the clock. So a total of 18 faults there. And again, it's showing now true that the time allowed is going to be something to think about because, again, Georgina Bloomberg nicely did it with Chenier. But since that point, we've had quite a few who had issues keeping up the necessary pace. One who didn't, of course, was Dylan Daly, showing that 74 and change was possible, though that came at the expense of rails. And sort of that's the balancing act. Keeping up the pace means giving yourself a little less time to adjust at any given point throughout the course, and less time to sort of think about what you need to do to get those clear jumps. So,
well, and also it's different. It's not the same formula for everybody. You know, knowing what your horse does well and also some of his weaknesses, like, you know, maybe you one horse rider combination is going to zip over to the oxer vertical double because that happens to be a strength of theirs, where maybe another combination needs to take a little extra time there. So that's how knowing your horse and knowing what they need help with helps you decide how to do that.
And some horses, correct me if I'm wrong, really like to run at the jumps, and that's the way they best perform, and others really need to be pulled back off of them to focus.
Right, again, about the strengths and weaknesses. Some horses have a little bit bigger stride than others. Maybe you can across a long space do a few less strides than another horse. Other horses, a little smaller step, can make shorter turns, you know, just sort of trying to capitalize on the strengths of your horse.
Well, Diego Vivero Viteri already making his way through here up to the fence 11, 12AB approaching right now. He had a win in our Thursday performance aboard Bellissime de Bonse. This is that mount, in fact, 607, and he's carrying 3 rails so far. Getting to the finish, he does make it inside the time allowed, 80.297. Along with that, again, we give him a 12-fault penalty. Georgina Bloomberg still leading the way with Shamir, the only clear to this point, as we move along now to Brianne Link. Brianne's been several times in the ribbon so far here at our Columbus 2-star. Dobalia is her mount. It's a 12-year-old bay, Dutch warm blood mare by Solitaire. She trains with Jeffrey Wells, who's standing by at the gate there, a very accomplished rider himself.
Yeah, he would have put together a nice plan for her to be able to get in the time.
And that was a place where it looked like she made a nice tidy turn back to number 2 to save herself some time. But at 4, the rail drops on the front there.
And that's the hard part when you get horses and riders a little bit rushing around. It's really challenged the accuracy.
Two tops have dropped so far as we're making our way through that last combination, 12AB. And time is also going to be a bit of a problem. Neat turns early on, unfortunately, didn't pay off in the long run here as an 84.602 time comes in with the 8 jumping and 3 on the clock, or 4 on the clock, rather. If you're listening now and you listened during our international class here yesterday, you're going to notice a difference a bit in the scoring here. Just in case you're fairly new, we'll just overview that for you. International classes involve 1 fault for every commenced 4 seconds over the time allowed. National classes involve 1 fault for every commenced second over the time allowed. That's the main difference you'll see between international and national scoring. International sort of governing body, the FEI, doesn't feel like it should be penalized quite as much to be over the time, so they give it in a 1 for 4 second basis. Here's Trap O'Neill, Texas-based professional rider, coming to us here aboard Dollar Cash. He was actually a runner-up on this one early in the week in the open jumpers here. And he'll join us here aboard a 12-year-old bay, Hanoverian gelding by Dollar de Mirier. His operation there in Texas is TKO Partnership.
This is a little bit slower mover than some of the ones that we've seen, so he's going to really have to be active about getting from jump to jump here, like he's definitely doing there.
Little luck paying off there in that combination with a bit of a rub on the top of the B element, I believe, but that stayed in the cup, so that was good.
Going to get right back onto 10 here. All right, get over there, get over there.
All right, so now it's just about the time because he's got one jump left, and that's not really been a problem for most, but it looks like he's going to be a little over. Wow, hate to see it. 82.179 is going to give him 2 on the clock. 82.179, a 2-time fault result. So right now it's the clear first, the 1-time faulter second, the 2-time faulter sitting in third. All 3 of those are U.S. riders. Georgina Bloomberg, as well as Graciela Robert and Trap O'Neill.
Well,
Carl
Brian,
Cook.
It has been so much fun to sit up here and watch this class with you. I have got to get back to work.
Okay. Well, I think we got a phone call or some other business to attend to, so we'll let Callan head off. Listen, if you do get a chance to come back here later, we'd certainly welcome you to do so. But we appreciate your insights so far here today. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. So Caillou 24 is in. This is Carl Cook riding for Signe Osby, the 13-year-old gray Holsteiner gelding by Casal, 13th on the order. Carl's one of the great supporters of the Split Rock Jumping Tour as a rider. He has also contributed as a sponsor to our events, California-based. And we were talking to Derek Braun the other day, good friend of Carl Cook as well, that a lot of riders are now starting to come across from the West Coast. It's not an easy trip to get all the way over here to the Midwest and Ohio, but there's been a bit of a change in the migration patterns where opportunities to show are involved in this very strange year. But a bonus week here in Columbus, a fantastic development. And this is really a very nice facility at Brave Horse in Johnstown, right outside of Columbus, I should say. Carl looking neat and tidy so far. Rolling back around to the Alamand vertical. It's maybe another place where time could be made up, and it looks like he slices that a little right to left, so that might have saved him some time. Big jumping effort over number 11, 12AB. He's good there, and he'll be just inside if he makes it. Oxer coming up to finish the course. Wow, oh so close. 80.883. Less than 2/10 away from the boundary, but Carl does it. And we now have Georgina Bloomberg and Carl Cook tied for first, and that is what it takes to give us a jump-off guarantee. Got Harry Smulders now with us, the Dutch rider who is in with the Kalina. He had a podium position in our welcome here yesterday. A couple spots out of the top position, but Harry in actually second place, I should say, just behind Jessica Mendoza. Harry's aboard an 8-year-old bay mare. This is Kalina by Cici Senor-esque. This fence number 3 tends to be the one that ends up at a strange angle each day where we can't necessarily tell when that has dropped. It's just right in line with our sight so that the pillars are blocking whether or not you can see the rail, and it looks as though that rail is being picked up, so that's where the 4-fault penalty is happening here for Dutch rider Harry Smulders. If he can keep it to just 4 aboard this fairly young mount at 8 years of age and get inside the time allowed, you don't rule him out for a ribbon because, again, we've been few and far between the ones who go clear and within that time allowed. Looks like he's going to maybe be close on the time, and Finish line arrives in 81.557, so he'll also have a narrow margin buffer there between his finish and the time allowed. But he stays in. 4 faults will be the result there. I'm sorry, 81.557 rather is just over that 81-second time allowed, so it's a 5-fault score. Jessica Mendoza coming off of a victory in the Restylane Welcome class here yesterday. That international event was topped by our British rider. Here she is aboard Malibu today. This is number 566, a 9-year-old bay gelding by Sentinel. And it looked like Malibu hesitated, looking down. The Horseflight vertical caught their eye a little bit. And that wasn't where the trouble lied. She dug in and made sure they got up and over that one. But then, actually, that was where the knockdown took place, rather, the Horseflight vertical. Excuse me. So Jessica tried to keep them moving forward and up and over that one. But, of course, it did come down in the long run. One jump left here, and again still flirting with time issues up and over the final oxer and to the finish line in 81.163, also adding 1 on the clock. So the rail at the Horseflight vertical, which was early in the course there at number 2, and a finish of 81 and change will make a difference. That change 0.163 seconds over. So the 1 and 2 placed riders from yesterday's Welcome, brought to us by advertising partner Restylane, are right now in the 5-fault column together. Just before we got the build underway here for our Restylane Meter 35 National Prix, we watched Caroline Mahwini earn a victory in the Animo Meter 20 final. She had a couple of other podium placings, 2nd and 3rd this week in open jumpers, and now she's back to try to get herself another nice ribbon in our National Prix. She's piloting Stella La Vista, a 12-year-old Hanoverian mare by Satisfaction. Interestingly, as Jessica Mendoza exited the ring, she passed Caroline as her student here in the National Prix. So she would have imparted her knowledge before Caroline came in. They likely schooled together out in the warm-up area. It looks to me like Stella La Vista is getting a little strong and pulled her through that combination to drop the top rail at the B element. And coming up on the last jump, no problem on the time. And 75.949 will be a 4-fault finish. And when Callan was here, we were talking a little bit about how you got to sort of focus on a balance between pace and accuracy. We've already seen so many get time faults today that I know that's entering the mind of our riders while they come in today. And certainly pace was not a problem there for Stella La Vista, though it did create a little bit of issue again in that combination 7A and 7B. So that's a 4-fault finish. Dylan Daly for Ireland coming back on a 2nd ride now. This time it's the Eye Candy Jumpers entry Wildflower, 9-year-old bay Oldenburg mare by Conthargos. And we're already up to what is actually the 18th entry. Actually, the 17th entry to show, 19th on the original order if you're looking at that at home. Trouble-free so far. And I always sort of hesitate to even say that because I feel like I may jinx them. But so far, Dylan's looking good here. Penalty-free to this point aboard Wildflower. Time, though. Look at that time. 69 seconds on the landing side of number 11. And tapping a couple of jumps on the way there. Over the last jump in 79, and they get to the finish in 80.784. So we will now have Ireland featured in that jump-off round. No penalties for Dylan and Wildflower, joining Georgina Bloomberg and Carl Cook on the good list. Thanks again to Restylin. Restylin Kiss, advertising partner of the Split Rock Jumping Tour, brings us this National Prix. We were happy to have Lauren Huff on the broadcast with us the first day. Here she is competing again. She's had a fairly nice weekend. Athena, the Harris Equestrian LLC entry. Another very young horse at 7 years of age. Bay Zengersaid, a mare by Harley VDL. Down at the early combination 5B. She's going to have what I would imagine be a slightly quicker time there at the finish line with Athena. She does have that knockdown at 5B, of course. Lauren Huff rounding the bend to show over that final jump. And it was a little bit of a wider turn to that last oxer, but she gets to the finish in 81.123, so actually she'll be a little behind, and that last turn to the oxer may have made the difference in that pace. But 5 faults total with 1 on the clock and 4 on the course. Rowan Willis up next. He had a Thursday win with us. Rowan took that victory aboard Wellington Grandeur. This is the 9-year-old bay British warm blood mare by Balloon. Rowan, the owner rider. He represents Australia. He's done so at the World Equestrian Games, had designs on going on to the Olympics this year, but of course those dreams were put on hold for everyone due to current world conditions. Of course, spent a lot of time in Europe. He spent time up in Canada now for quite a while, over the last 3 or 4 years competing here in the U.S. Victories this season already in Tryon, North Carolina on a couple of different rides. Traverse City, Michigan as well was successful for him. His main focus this season was there in Tryon when they got underway back in early June. Rail down at the Animo vertical, unfortunately for Rowan, so halfway through the course he's got 4. Down as well at 7B. Another one down at the Dahlman Jump Co. vertical on the end of the accommodation there. And then we'll see whether time's an issue. 81.466, yes it will be. 12 jumping, faults 1 on the clock, 13 total. So here is Jana van Debjehoeven, the Alexi Ray owned and ridden entry. She carries the Maple Leaf of Canada as one of our amateur riders. This is an 11-year-old chestnut Belgian warm blood mare by Balabé de Rouet. Competed early in the winter season down in Wellington, showing in the amateur owner events, also in the Grand Prix level competitions, and then really only came out of that break in early September during the fall series in Traverse City at the Silver Oak tournament. Eight comes down, the top rail of that solid white skinny vertical. 9 as well. And also a knockdown in the late combination. Coming around to the final fence. She'll jump that one clear, but with 12 earlier faults and 79.751. Penny Brennan was among 2 British riders showing in the jump off here yesterday. Of course, she's for a long time been based here in the U.S. in Florida. She's aboard Hell's Angel now for our National Prix. 9-year-old mare, number 898. This one's owned by the IDK Investment Group. Pardon me, 743. I'm going to correct that number. It's actually Enjoy and Donovan Caroline Ross. We got one ahead of ourselves here, but Donovan Caroline Ross for Halo Capital on course here with Enjoy. Enjoy the Royal Dutch Warm Blood gelding by Viceroy T. Halfway through with no trouble. Right hand turn to number 8. 4 strides to 9, and she's good to go there as well. Again, on the landing side of number 11, she's at a 67-second mark, and that could be flirting with trouble on the clock. We'll see. A nice pace around that final turn, but it's the rail on the back side of that oxer that gets in the way. 79.812. So that's a 4-fault effort. Horse seemed to have a nice stride that helped to make up for it the last bit of the course, but it's the rail again at the end there that gives her 4 faults. Penny Brennan again, a qualifier yesterday in the jump-off round. She was just behind Jessica Mendoza in that jump-off order. Penny rides Hell's Angel. Again, the 9-year-old mare by IDK Investment Group. She's been competing in some of the events there in Virginia this summer. Into the fall months, she's shown at Old Salem Farm up in New York in the Grand Prix ranks there. As I said, placed in yesterday's welcome class, so she got a nice check out of that $37,000 prize. Hell's Angel jumping nicely here. Have to reel him back in a little bit in this four stride maybe. Up, looking good. And she's got just the roll back and then the left turn, and she'll continue on that left arch through 11, 12, AB, and 13. So she could be our next contender. Time should be no problem at all. And continuing to the left to approach the final jump. Can she make it? Yes, she can. She's having a great week here. Hell's Angel carries Penny Brennan to the finish in 77 and change. So we now have riders for the U.S., Ireland, and Great Britain. All right, 50 entries will show here today, at least 50 entries on the original order. We're about halfway through, and it appears we're going to take a quick drag break. If the first group is any indication, we have 4 so far clear. Maybe we would double that up to 8. That'd be a nice number in the jump off. Or maybe they'll really start catching their stride and figuring things out here as we make our way through the last half of the class, and the numbers will build. We'll have to see what happens. Right now, Georgina Bloomberg and Shamir, the opening entry in the field, as well as Carl Cook and Caillou 24, who showed quite a bit later on in the order. Both for the U.S. Dylan Daly and Wildflower, of course, a few rounds after that went clear for Ireland. And, of course, we just finished on a good note before the drag break with Penny Brennan and Hell's Angel also earning a return ticket. So those are the 4 so far, halfway through our Restylane Meter 35 National Prix. It's a $20,000 feature event here, and we'll be back after the drag break to continue on with our competition. Saturday, Split Rock Jumping Tour, Columbus, CSI 2-star.
smelly consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
God, they're so far open. I'm always working, saving every day.
Hit the off switch or your mic?
Back in action, and I just want to send a shout-out to my friend Jackie McFarland, who's obviously been listening to the broadcast, even when we didn't mean to be on it. So much hand sanitizer and other things around here. We just had a little spillage mishap with the hand sanitizer on some of our equipment. We had to straighten that out and left that tab on. Thanks to Dylan as well in the production booth here for letting me know. Anyway, we're back in action. Thanks, Jackie. Shout out to anybody else listening out there as we're broadcasting from our Columbus two-star event here, Columbus, Ohio, really more in the Johnstown area on the outskirts of Columbus. And this is our Restylane Meter 35 National Prix Saturday afternoon feature class. We're halfway through with 4 qualifiers to this point as Victoria Ketchum returns to the ring. She's here now aboard Maestro van de Vulker. 8-year-old bay Belgian warm blood gelding. Still working on a clear at the midway point of the course here. Up and over. That one unfortunately does drop at the Animo vertical. Maestro again by I'm Special de Muse. Victoria Ketchum, one of our amateur riders here today. Another knockdown there at 7B. Carrying 8 so far. Rail as well at fence number 9 for 12 faults up to this point. This rider's been showing in the Princeton Series, in the fall showing at Old Salem in New York, earning some ribbons in the open jumpers. She also earned a top 3 placing in Mini Prix action at Old Salem aboard another horse, Isaac 22. Coming around the bend of the final jump, she's going to be a little off the necessary pace as she crosses the finish line in 81.453, just a fraction behind, but enough for 1 time fault. In addition to the 12 jumping, 13 will be the total. The USA, Ireland, and Great Britain are 3 nations represented so far. Another for the USA. Mia Albello comes to us now. Mia riding Sedan, her own 13-year-old gelding by Casinos. German warm blood mount here, number 690. He had a lot of success competing this season in the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival Series. Junior Amateur Classic ribbons earned there. Also, more recently, in still Traverse City, Michigan, but during the fall shows that were the Silver Oak Tournament and the American Gold Cup. 7A comes down, so late in the course she's going to have a penalty of 4. Just the one rail in that middle combination so far. She'll come around with, looks like no trouble on the clock here. 4 faults to this point. And another one at the end. So 8 in 77 to 88. Another rider out of Florida here is Maria Costa, Wellington, Florida based. And she's also been competing up in Michigan this season. Joining in the open jumpers, winning a welcome class there in Traverse City, Michigan. In fact, also taken several other ribbons in her Tryon Series events this year. So Maria Costa today joins us aboard Coup de Coeur. 8-year-old Saint Francais gelding by Daller de la Pierre. It's an entry owned by Ravello Farms. She hopes to be what would be the 3rd U.S. qualifier for the jump off. May need to pick up the pace a little bit here. She's approaching number 8. And unfortunately, the bigger problem is going to be the knockdown there and at number 9. So 8 faults right in a row there. She gets 2 knockdowns.
9 down, thank you.
Rounding the bend, 1 jump left. She's got 8 jumps, or 8 faults, that is, at 8 and 9. And now another rail coming at fence number 13. It's a score of 12 and 83.865. Add 3 more on the clock. So 3 knockdowns, 3 ticks over the time. Lauren DiTallo coming up next. She's based out of Illinois, here aboard Oliver's Army. Scott Derschlag entry, a 13-year-old Belgian gelding by Ogano Seat. She's an open jumper champion during the series there in Traverse City, Michigan. Also showed successfully in some of the Derby events there in Traverse City. Spent quite a bit of the summer up there in Michigan. Lauren, a professional rider here with Oliver's Army. Nice tight approach there to the Alleman vertical, paid off to save a little bit of time. And now she's coming up on the final fence carrying no faults and could be within in our 5th qualifier. She will do it. Oliver's Army, Lauren DiTallo, give us a 3rd U.S. rider on the good list. We've got Georgina Bloomberg, Carl Cook, Lauren DiTallo for the U.S., Dylan Daly for Ireland, and Penny Brennan for Great Britain. The second one to get clear in this list was Carl Cook aboard Caillou 24. Now it's Carl Cook trying again aboard the Sidney Osby entry, Especial PS. Carl Cook, based out of California, making his way to the Midwest here to support the Split Rock Jumping Tour. Well recognized as quite the stylish rider. And, of course, that style turns into a success as it's done in a couple of the Junior Young Rider Championships while he was in that age bracket, going to team gold twice, individual gold and individual silver in the 2007 and 2008 campaigns. Been a World Cup finalist 3 times as well. He's been a regular winner on the Split Rock Tour over the past couple of years, including in Lexington, Kentucky. Was a part of the organizing group that was going to bring us the $1 million Annie Up Grand Prix this season. Of course, conditions at that time of the year didn't allow that to happen, but maybe we'll get back to something along those lines in the future. Always looking for ways to advance and grow the sport in the U.S. is the entire group that organizes the Split Rock Jumping Tour. And Carl's been certainly helpful in that by supporting it as a rider and sponsor. He's coming around nicely with no problem on the clock. He's one of the quickest we've seen here. And wow, 76 and change rather, the finish time here. Carl and Especial PS will be another good pair. Carl 2 for 2 in qualifying to this point.
And so the tie is now 6 ways for first place. Now we'll have Trap O'Neill in his second ride. Trap's going to be here aboard Baltazar DZ, number 734. Earlier on with Dollar Cash, which was his runner-up earlier in the week, he had just the time faults. Great rider coming to us out of Texas, and he's trying to avoid both the jumping and time penalties this time around aboard Baltazar, the 12-year-old chestnut Zangerside gelding by Balugran Z, the AG Ariane LLC entry. TKO Partnership is operation out of Texas. This one, of course, as I mentioned, owned by AG Ariane LLC. Well ridden in the combination, now bending to the right to jump 8 to the vertical, 4 strides to the Oxer 9, and continuing on that right-hand turn as they roll back to the Alleman vertical. As long as he can get to the base of fence number 11 in that 64-second range or so, which he does, he should be okay. Tight turn if you can, as much as possible to save time on the way to number 13. And there will be no problem this time around. Trap building on the experience on the early mount to get clear and qualified on Baltazar DZ. The gates are opened up a bit now. A little fist bump as he turned back toward the gate, and there at the multicolored vertical, which is just in place, not being used in this round. That fist bump maybe it took him a little off-center, and he had to stutter step a little to the right to maintain control. But certainly worthy of the celebration there as Trap fist pumps aboard Baltazar DZ after qualifying to jump off and extending the tie 7 ways at this point. For Canada, we have another professional rider, Jacqueline Stuffins aboard Pyro, an 8-year-old bay warm blood gelding by Dynamo, an entry owned by Eye Candy Jumpers. Dylan Daly and Jacqueline Steffens sharing the rides on those eye candy mounts for Ireland and Canada. Yeah, we're going to see if this streak continues because she's still working on a penalty-free ride as well. Could be the first one for Canada today. Although a little trouble getting to the Alleman vertical, it was almost, I thought it was going to either bypass or stop there, but good job by Jacqueline Steffens keeping Pyro on target. Pyro just 8 years old, remember. So every once in a while you might see that youth come out. That appears to be what happened this time, but wow, they kept them going. I have to give credit again where it's due for Jacqueline's efforts as a rider on a young horse all the way through, even though it looked like there may be trouble there at number 10. No jumping faults. The time will be a problem, and certainly backing off a little bit at that vertical took a little bit of extra time, and they do end up with faults on the clock. Spencer Smith is in now. He has again recently earned riding honors for Gotham Enterprises LLC, being selected after a lot of world experience throwing throughout Europe under the wing of some of the great riders, including Eric Lamaze of Canada. He spends quite a bit of time in Europe. Spencer Smith has done so alongside of him. This year he's spent more time in the U.S. than he has recently. 23 years of age, Wellington, Florida based. He's Been a Young Rider Championship contender here in North America. Won a Grand Prix in Traverse City, Michigan back in July. Certainly worthy of the Gotham Enterprises rides, and showing that right now here aboard Cesta 24, the 11-year-old Hanoverian mare by Contagio. Definitely a rider we're going to see on U.S. teams going into the future. Coming up on the last jump here, it looks like he's going to have no problem on the clock and will be, in fact, penalty-free. I'm not sure what happened during that drag break, but it would appear that some folks figured it out. We have had now 5 clear jumping efforts in a row, 4 of them going inside the time allowed and all making it into the second phase of competition. As we were going into that break, I told you that the clear rounds were nicely separated in the order of go. Georgina Bloomberg first. 13 rounds later, Carl Cook earned his ticket to come in. Dylan Daly, a few rounds after that, gave Ireland the first entry to qualify. And then again, right before that drag break was Penny Brennan with a clear. Coming out of the drag break, certainly we had a couple with faults, but then Lauren DiTallo, Carl Cook, Trap O'Neill all scored more clears for the U.S. Jacqueline Steffens almost did so, but for the time, and now Spencer Smith has also become a part of the fray. 8 are qualified to jump off right now. Dylan Daly among them already, and now back to try again aboard Panda in Love, a 9-year-old Dark Bay Royal Dutch Warmblood gelding by Clinton. This one owned by, as well, Eye Candy Jumpers. Looks like Dylan may be fighting just a little bit to keep Panda in Love on focus here in the late phases of the course. They've had a couple of knockdowns at this point at 6 and 7A. Now we're looking at 8 faults coming to the finish line. And that's going to arrive in just under the time, 80.459. He does have the earlier qualifier. We're going to see him aboard Wildflower in the 3rd spot of the return order. So for sure, Dylan will be back to challenge for the big prize money here. $20,000 total on offer. Tanamara Macari Cabillo coming to us aboard Isla de Muse. This is a Dark Bay Westphalian mare by Iceman de Muse, an entry owned by Jorge Macari. Rider for Mexico is Tanamara. I believe she's based in the Wellington area. Competed in the under-25 ranks early this season in Wellington, Florida. Had a couple of nice ribbons in the Grand Prix and under-25 divisions there. She also went on to compete in the events at Live Oak, Ocala back in 2016. Her team was 2 spots off the podium in the North American Junior Young Rider Championships when they happened in Colorado. Top rail on the front of the Oxer number 4 has dropped already for 4 faults at this point. Just that one rail at fence for 4 faults, though she does finish up just outside the time allowed, 81.152. Means one more time fault for 5 total by Tanamera and Isla de Muse. Watching Georgina Bloomberg attempt to earn her second return ticket. She did so in the first round of the day aboard Shamir 137. Again, she already won a speed class on Thursday in the Ali Wolf LLC one-round competition. That was aboard Pela, and she's going to try now to give herself another chance at a nice check this week. Georgina aboard Balotelli 5 for Purple Road LLC, the Bay Hanoverian gelding by Ballieu Durouet. Coming to us out of New York, New York. Couple of ribbons aboard Tulara Kulmin and Manhattan in the Old Salem Farm Grand Prix Series that just finished up 2 weeks ago back in her home state. She took a more extended break this year than some after the COVID shutdown and only came back into action mid-September. So fairly fresh out of the blocks this season for Georgina. But again, she came out gunning for a win in that first class in the feature events here in Columbus. Rocked the front rail at that combination. And unfortunately, rocking 8, that one does come down. So 4 so far for Balotelli. I think we're going to have some time trouble here as well as she's approaching number 11 at the 68-second mark. To the finish line in 81.687. Yes, 1 on the clock added to the 4 jumping, 5 total. Again, she will have a chance to come back. She's got Shamir on the qualified list, so we'll be seeing her again. Maybe we'll see if Tori Colvin can net another victory today. She tries aboard Hashi. Hashi, the Bay Royal Dutch Warm Blood gelding by Cardento. Little trip, it would appear, after fence number 1, but she gets right back to it, circling around to clear number 2 as well. It looked like a fairly tidy turn to get there, so she could save a little bit of time and make the later parts of the course maybe not quite as difficult. All of it coming obviously quite naturally to the great young rider, Tori Colvin. Wow, reaching out over that oxer to clear number 9. Tori lost her stirrups there for a second as well, but got him right back. No matter what happens in a round here for this, again, natural rider, you know you can't ever count her out. She's approaching the last combination with no trouble on the course so far. The clock's going to be close. She gets there in 80.164, so just a fraction of a second to spare. And Tori Colvin, a winner with us yesterday, is a fault-free first-round finisher for another chance today. Once again, Erin Davis Heineken comes back into the ring. Her second entry of the class here is Vidskues Jenny Star, Danish warm blood mare by TaylorMade Stardust, owned by, of course, Heineken Show Stables. 40th on the list here today. And again, we've really been racking up the clears after the break. There were 4 before the break, another 5 after the break, and only about 12 rounds. Erin Davis would like to add her name to the list as well. She started off the season nicely in Wellington with a win. Spent a lot of time also out on the West Coast in California competing to ribbons in the Grand Prix there. Trains alongside her husband, Christian Heineking of Germany, out of their Fort Worth, Texas base. By the way, the Heinekings, Aaron and Christian, had big plans to be a part of the Split Rock Jumping Tour in an organizer fashion by helping to bring a World Cup qualifier to Fort Worth this year. Things didn't pan out in the long run due to all that's going on in the world these days, but we look forward to maybe trying again in 2021. That was going to be a nice December finale World Cup qualifier. She's clear so far over number 9 and rounding to the Alaman vertical number 10 here. Vitskuis, Jenny Starr, Erin Davis, Heineking. Time is going to be a problem here. And perhaps it's going to make her feel a little rushed through the combination and going on to that final fence. But those are not a problem. It's just that she's going to get to that finish line too late. And how late? The question, 84-11. So that means 4 faults on the clock. 84-11 and 4 time faults, the result there after a clear jumping effort by Vitskuis Jenny Starr. Jennifer Gates was also a contestant in the jump off here yesterday with Alex, number 882. Alex will join us again, 16-year-old Bay Westphalian gelding by Arpeggio. She actually gave us a jump-off qualified ride aboard Dari Liu yesterday, ended up in 12th place in the welcome. Three times she's competed at the North American Junior Young Rider Championships. A team gold in 2014, team silver in 2016. That's the same year she was an individual bronze medalist 4 years back when the events were held in Parker, Colorado. Since then, she's also been a big contender in Grand Prix events the world over, from the U.S. to Europe. Showed here last year aboard both Alex and Dolin at our Columbus 2-star stop. Working on a knockdown at number 9 today aboard Alex, so 4 faults as she approaches the last fence. And gets in the time of 79.952 rather, 79.952. Lauren Hester, originally out of California, now based in Lexington, Kentucky. Here aboard Hester Equestrian's Cooper 166, a 10-year-old Holsteiner gelding by Kankara. Jumping great so far here today is
Coming up on fence number 11 now. And she does so just in time to save herself possible faults on the clock. Clearing. Oh, and it's 12B that drops there. She gets to the finish in 78.989. Late knockdown at 12B, the Delman Jump Co vertical. So 4 faults and 78.989. Serena Marin is up next among our amateurs. She'll ride for Horse Orchard LLC with Loxley, number 934. A Bay Holsteiner gelding by Larius W. So through the gate comes the New York-based rider, Serena Marin, again aboard Loxley. Competing in the Socrates Hits Series earlier this month, aboard Loxley and Rapidash, 2 of her Grand Prix level mounts. She's also shown, of course, this season in the junior and amateur ranks there. Rider who's starting to adopt the use of the safety vest, as we've seen more and more do on a regular basis here. She's pulled the rail at the first fence, so 4 faults already. And it looks like the safety vest will in fact come into play here. Lots of folks have taken notice when injuries have happened in falls and have just decided, why not go ahead and incorporate every advantage I can have. Coming off as she got a little loose out of the tack at fence number 2. And you may have been able to hear that that automatically inflates on the way down just to try to avoid any injury. Good to see she gets right to her feet, partially as a result of that safety measure. The unfortunate news, of course, is that she'll receive no score. Carl Cook's betting 1,000 already today. Let's see if he can keep up the trend as he returns on another entry. This will be Fissy Belle, another Sydney Osprey entry. It's a 10-year-old bay mare, Royal de Tournblad by Carambol. Fissy Belle was a placing entry in Grand Prix in Del Mar earlier this month, back at the beginning of September. Competed over the winter season in the Thermal Desert Circuit as well. And Carl was actually coast to coast this winter, not only showing in his native California, but also down in the southeast in Wellington at the Winter Equestrian Festival. So quite well traveled, of course. And he's just mastered things so far here. 2 for 2. And now about to possibly be 3 for 3 qualifying jump-off rides today. Yes, he will, and it does it effortlessly. 78.5 is the time for Fissy Belle, and it's yet another short course contender. So he's definitely stacking the deck as much as possible. He was the rider who gave us the second clear of the day, or as I like to call it, the jump-off guarantee. That was Caillou 24, one of the Split Rock winners 2 years back. Carl also then went on to steer clear aboard Especial PS, and now we'll do it again aboard Fissy Belle. We're getting the home stretch with 5 more to go. For Italy, we have Filippo Pignati here aboard Take the High Road LLC's Idil ES Dutch Warm Blood Gelding by Yukato. 45th on the original order
and 1 of 5 left. So far, good to go here. Some of the wider, deliberate routes to these fences that have kept him clear to this point, though, may come to roost at the end of the course because I believe he's going to be a little behind. Indeed, as he jumps the final combination fence and stays clear over the jumps, it's the time that will be the problem. Already at 80 seconds, still approaching number 13. So we'll celebrate a clear jumping ride, but in 83.561, we'll have 3 on the clock. Advertising partner Restylane and Restylane Kiss have been very, very supportive here. Again, partnering up with the Split Rock Jumping Tour to, again, advertise one of their great products in the Restylane portfolio, Restylane Kiss. More on that coming up here in a little bit. But they have supported us through this event as well. The welcome class that took place here yesterday. They were also big supporters in our Lexington 2-star back in June, and out there in Sonoma just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. Right now it's Angela Gonzalez, the next rider for Mexico, and perhaps the last hope that the flag of Mexico will be represented in the jump-off round. Angela's aboard Argan van de Potard, 12-year-old chestnut Belgian gelding owned by AG Ariane LLC. We saw earlier Trap O'Neill, so an AG Ariane entry into the jump-off. Of course, he rides for the U.S. out of Texas. Angela Gonzalez also out of Texas. She'll pull the rail at number 8 for 4 faults. And we'll also likely be having a little trouble on the clock here with Argan. She's avoided that. Knocked down to 12B. 8 faults now. Taking back to 13 to try to avoid any further penalties. And actually, it looks like no problem on the clock. 78.235. 8 fault score for that pair. And it's Ireland's Dylan Daly back yet again with yet another Eye Candy Jumpers entry. Demon Whiskey. Great name for a 10-year-old Dark Bay Oldenburg stallion by Diorado. And a chance for Dylan to be a multiple qualifier. Carl Cook by far the most successful at this point with 3 entries on the good list. Dylan certainly wouldn't mind having another chance. He's got Wildflower from early in the class here. Now could try again with a 10-year-old Demon Whiskey. And that would be 2 for Ireland. Well, the B element here of the neon combination, 5B, is what's down to this point. Demon Whiskey and Dylan will have a problem on the clock as well, approaching the final jump, number 13, with a few seconds over. It'll be a score of 8 and 83.379. It's actually 2 knockdowns. Again, rails at 5B and also fence number 11. So 8 faults in 83.379. Add 3 more on the clock. 2 more to go in the class here before we make the adjustment for the jump off. Should be about 10 minutes or so between rounds. And here is Stephanie Gallucci with Sea Coast, 12-year-old Belgian mare by Bamako de Muse. She is again here for Canada, the last hope for Canada to get a chance in the jump-off round. Down at B there. 5B again strikes. Wide turn back to the almond vertical. And jumping that one at the 60-second mark. Again, she's got the 5B jump down. And that one's down at the Dahlman Jumpco vertical 12B. So 1 left, carrying 8 faults to the finish in 79.424. Just 1 more entry. And it's Ireland's Paul O'Shea with Sexy Beast. So eye candy jumpers have been shown here today by Dylan Daly. We also, of course, had a ride earlier on for Jacqueline Steffens, now another for Paul O'Shea. So those eye candy mounts distributed among several top-level riders. Of course, Paul O'Shea perhaps the most accomplished of all of them. Just a couple of weeks back, he had a top 5 placing in the prestigious American Gold Cup. That one came aboard Skargland's Machu Picchu, but he's also had a lot of other big wins throughout his career. He's here today to wrap things up in round 1 aboard this 7-year-old Oldenburg mare by Cabochon. Last one to go here is a very young horse in our National Prix, brought to us again by advertising partner Restylane. And we'll see how much he pushes to get that time, as it's been many times a problem for riders today. But again, balancing act of getting the right pace while still being able to be accurate to the jumps gets amplified when you're dealing with possibly a horse with a lot less experience. And many times what your main objective is to give them a positive experience, not necessarily really be running and gunning for the ribbons. Sexy Beast, a nice type and a good jumper here as we're coming around to fence number 10. Showing quite a bit of confidence at an early age, and possibly is going to make it. Penalty free to this point with 1 jump left. Yes, no trouble at all. 78.803 is the finish time, but more importantly, clear is the call for Sexy Beast and Paul O'Shea. We're going to finish out the jump off with a 7-year-old mount and a very accomplished rider for Ireland.
being the last one to qualify. So Georgina, Carl, Dylan, Penny Brennan, Lauren DeTallo, another Carl Cook ride sitting in the 6th position of the order. Trap O'Neill will also be with us. We'll have Spencer Smith, Tori Colvin, a 3rd Carl Cook ride listed in the 10th spot of the order, and the 11th one will be Paul O'Shea. So the USA, Ireland, and Great Britain all represented here today. And we'll see what happens as we move on to that second round action. I'll give you details of the course as we get close to the first horse in the tiebreaker here. Our Restylane $20,000 meter 35 pre. Again, the Saturday feature event here in our Columbus 2-star. Just outside of Columbus, in fact, as part of the Split Rock Jumping Tour 2020. Stay with us. All right, folks, as we're getting back to it now, we're about to see the first of 11 jumping off in our Restylane Meter 35 National Prix. Quickly going over the route, which will appropriately begin in front of the scoreboard over the Restylane pink and white oxer. From there, they'll continue on a left-hand arc to the A element of what was 5AB. Only 5A is included here in the jump-off round. That, of course, includes the neon rails over the vertical there. Continuing then and bending to the right to jump the Animo vertical away from or across the front of the judges' stand, I should say. They will maintain the right-hand turn and jump the Polo Mallet combination, 7A and 7B. Continue heading to the right to jump the Horseflight vertical, and this time around it's going to go in the opposite direction. Back toward the camera position there and our spectator tent. Then they will cut to the left and jump the wrought iron oxer, which has been reversed as well. It's now going to be fence number 16, and they'll wrap things up over number 10, the Animo vertical, back over toward the scoreboard. So again, to recap, it's number 4, 5A, 6, 7AB, 15, 16, and 10 here in the jump-off. We've got a time allowed of 59 seconds. But most likely, no one's going to approach that, barring any refusals or other issues we may not see, because they're going to be really running and gunning for the prizes here. $20,000 total offered, and the winner's share of that goes to whoever can be the cleanest, fastest entry. Maybe Georgina Bloomberg can do it. She showed her merit in the Thursday Speed Cup as she earned a victory aboard Perla. Now she's going to lead the way in our jump-off with Shamir 137 here in the National Prix. Sit back up after the landing side of 5, and unfortunately she does go right to that one. Just maybe a little deep and then pulling the top rail at the Animo vertical. Keeping up the nice pace here as she approaches again the Horseflight vertical, going in the opposite direction from the first round. And a tight turn around the Animo to approach 16. And she will keep up the gallop now, not counting herself out for a big prize as she jumps the Animo vertical, even though she had that rail. Being the first one in the order means you never know what's going to follow. And you can't count yourself out, not just for a ribbon, but for a possible win, because who knows what the rest of the field is going to do. Certainly we would expect that Carl Cook and Caillou 24 are going to do nicely. Georgina Bloomberg just posted a 42.455 time, and that came again with the expense of 4 faults. But we'll have to see whether or not Carl Cook can improve on that. And again, if past wins are any indication, he very well could. He took a Speed Cup victory last year at the Kentucky Invitational, was also a winner of our Kentucky two-star Grand Prix at the original Split Rock Farm there in Lexington, both aboard Caillou 24. And, of course, that's just to name a few of his victories over the course of their career together. Carl now pilots his first of 3 jump-off qualifiers. Already well into the round here with Caillou. He's got the great advantage of 3 to go here in the jump-off. Again, his most accomplished mount, the first one for him today. Staying clear, objective 1. Doing so in short order is objective 2. And he'll do it. 40.863 for Caillou puts him, of course, as the early leader here. Second of 11 has shown now. 40.863, and again, penalty-free. So not only does he have that clear round under his belt, he's got it as experience to build on in his final 2 entries in the jump-off round. The only rider with 3 to go here in the tie-breaking effort. Dylan Daly for Ireland is in now with Wildflower for Eye Candy Jumpers. The 9-year-old Oldenburg mare by Conthargos next to show. I'm trying to make it more of a straight line between jumps here. Great way to shave that time, not just running to the fences, not just galloping all the way around, but trying to make it as straight a point between the 2 jumps as possible. course, that changes the distance and whether or not you can still maintain accuracy to the base. Looking good so far for a fairly young mount at 9 years of age. Jumping clear and posting a time of 41.993. He'll be about a second or 1.1 seconds back into second place. Good go there for a 9-year-old horse, though. Wildflower for Eye Candy Jumpers and Dylan Daly into second place. Penny Brennan, 2 days in a row, has gotten her chance to come into the jump off, this time in the National Prix aboard IDK Investment Group's Hell's Angel. Another 9-year-old mount. The mare shown by a Florida-based professional, again representing Great Britain. Very aggressive competitors you're about to see here. Starting up and over the Restylane Oxer and going clear with a sharp cut back immediately thereafter, turning almost in the air to get to 5A. And again, a very direct route to the Enemo vertical. Wow, got very much to the base of that jump, but still got up and over it with Hell's Angel. Slithering over the Horseflight vertical. Fighting a little bit to get Hell's Angel turned back to number 16. And she's on a good pace here at the finish in 40.702. She will outpace Carl Cook for the new lead. Great Britain on top now with Penny Brennan and Hell's Angel. Chance for her to be atop the podium here this week for IDK Investment Group. We'll see if that maintains. Lauren DiTallo was the first one out of the midway drag break in round one to get into the jump off, but she started quite the streak of clears. She was aboard Oliver's Army in her penalty-free effort for Scott Durslag, the owner of this 13-year-old Belgian gelding by Ogano Seat. Professional coming to us out of Illinois, Lauren DiTallo and Oliver's Army. Not quite the aggressive turn back to 5A that we just saw from Penny Brennan. A horse with a little bit more of a stride possibly than Hell's Angel. She's tightening it up a little bit there to maintain the accuracy to the Enemo vertical. And again, a little wider back to the Horseflight vertical as well. I don't think she's going to have the winning pace, but staying clear could certainly be to her benefit here. And there she goes, approaching the final jump. A few seconds back of the leader, of course, but penalty-free, and a time of 44.663 for Lauren and Oliver's Army. So she'll go right now into fourth place, 44.663. All right, next one technically would be Carl Cook because he qualified his second entry right after Lauren. That was a Special PS. But he's got to take a little bit of time, obviously, after such a great performance on Caillou 24 to get that next mount ready. Shouldn't be too long there. And if we look out at the warm-up area, see Carl is up and already starting to jump on that second of his three qualifiers. Of course, since he's left the ring, his top position's been overtaken by just a fraction of a second by Penny Brennan. 1/10 to be exact. Hell's Angel was faster than Caillou 24. As I said earlier, though, with a very accurate ride for Carl in his first effort, he even had room to improve on his second entry, and from that he may learn even more for his third. Ready to come back in here is Carl Cook. Second of his 3 qualifiers now. He'll be aboard a Special PS. Royal Dutch Warmblood mare by Berlin. And he's approaching the Restylane Oxer. Let's see what changes he makes. Again, Penny made a very tight turn there after the Restylane Oxer to get back to 5A. Maybe a little wider there for Carl, but I'm not so sure that he's lost any time in the process. Bit of a deliberate turn out a little wider to the combination, but very direct to the horseflight vertical and left-hand turn back to the wrought iron oxer number 16 now as he's got 1 jump left. He's still on a clear pace. Not sure if he can get ahead or not. Let's see here. It'll be close. Nope. Time of 42.014 on his second of 3 qualifiers here. Will be penalty-free here with a Special PS. But 42.014 will put him into 4th place on that one. So right now, 2nd and 4th for Carl Cook. Penny Brennan leads still in 40.702. We'll see him back again here shortly aboard Fissy Bell, another of his very accomplished mounts with lots of wins, including here on the Split Rock Tour last year. Trap O'Neill, though, will be next out of Texas, riding AG Ariane LLC's Balthazar DZ. And he's going wide to gear up for the Restylane Oxer, perhaps to make the slice automatic to 5A. Jumping a little bit right to left to get there. And again, very direct on a straight line to the Animo vertical. And so there he has to start turning back to get to the combination. Of course, the disadvantage of a direct route there to fence number 6 is that you got a little bit more of a turn to get to the combination after that. If you go a little wider, you're going to be a little bit more headed in that direction on your way to 7AB. Left-hand turn to the fence 16. He could have a good pace here, folks. We're at 35 right now, and he's going to get there faster for sure. And his time of 39.191 will put him on top. The Lone Star State has a hero now in Trap O'Neill and Balthazar DZ, 39.191, 1.6 seconds ahead. It's the USA leading. Well done by, again, Trap O'Neill here aboard Balthazar DZ. That's going to be a tough one to catch, though there certainly are locations throughout the course where it can be done. We've got, of course, another U.S. rider coming in next, another bright young star coming up. He's already been proven with Grand Prix wins here in the U.S. and some big jumper classes in Europe as well. Recently taking on the Gotham Enterprises ride Cessna 24. So we'll see if he can outpace 39.191. By the way, thanks to Restylane Kiss, part of the Restylane portfolio, the newest hyaluronic acid lip filler designed to enhance lip volume, reduce fine lines above the upper lip, and provide a natural look and feel. Glad to have them advertising with us here at Split Rock. Spencer Smith on his way up to 5A. Corrected just a little bit before the takeoff there at the Neon Vertical, and now he's making the turn back to 7A.
leaning into the turn to get a little tighter the horse flight vertical. Just a great and stylish rider here. And now he's on his way to the finish line. It's going to be tough to catch that 39 and change time. He'll be close, though. It'll be a knockdown at the Alaman vertical, 40.903. So actually behind the pace and with a knockdown for fault result there, again, is Spencer Smith aboard Cessna. Still finding his stride with a brand new mount and horse and rider combination there from Gotham Enterprises. 40.903 with 4 faults. Puts him down into the 7th ranking. And Tori Colvin took a win here yesterday. We'll try again today aboard Hashi. This is a Bay Royal Dutch Warm Blood gelding owned by Lamona Road Partners, LLC. She's been mainly focused on South Florida this winter and into the summer. One of the riders who also has had their plans drastically changed due to all that's going on in the world today. But she's found no problem getting herself a win already yesterday here at Split Rock, Columbus. And she will take the very direct route to the Animo. Just barely turning before that fence to start herself on the way back to the combination. Reaching up and nicely jumping over with Hashi as she gets to the vertical, the horse flight fence. Wasting no time in the air there. Last jump coming up. She could be on pace here. Let's see. 39, 362. Just behind 2/10 from Trap O'Neill's time. So it's a 2nd place ranking now for the South Florida-based rider Victoria Colvin and Hashi. She was very, very close, 39.362. And again, most consistent rider of the day here has been Carl Cook. On 3 of his entries, he tried to get through, and on 3 of his entries, he did. We started off with Caillou 24. Very nice ride there to a 40.863 time, put him on top at that point. It was a couple of rounds later when Penny Brennan took over the lead with Hell's Angel. Carl Cook came back and gave it another shot with a Special PS. That one at this point is down in 6th place. So Carl right now has, once again, at this point, 4th, since Caillou 24 has been dropped down the list a few positions. The Special PS right now in 6th. And Carl's consistency demonstrated by earning, again, 3 rights to come back. Fessy Bell was among them. Last year, they had a Grand Prix win at the Lexington 2-Star, a welcome win in Sonoma out in California as well. And Carl's going to come back with Fessy Bell for Sidney Osby to try to catch up to that 39.191 effort. Tori Colvin came close, but Trap O'Neill still leads the way. Certainly wouldn't mind seeing him up there on the top spot of the podium, but I know for sure that Carl Cook is going to go for it, as he is nothing but a competitor. Taking a little bit of a similar tack there, going out and wide so they can jump a little bit right to left on the way over to 5, the Neon Vertical. Giving a little encouragement to Fessy Bell on the way to the Animo jump. Again, they also took that direct route and turned back to the Polo combination. Nice and tidy there. On the landing side, pushing out a little bit to turn left and jump 16, and now on their way to the finish line. They certainly are on a nice pace here. Can they do it? Yes, I think they can. And 39.139 is a little faster. That is a very narrow margin of 6/100ths of a second before Trap O'Neill. And it will be a lead
overtake here by Carl Cook and Fessibel. So he shows it can be done. Again, he had the benefit of experience on 2 prior mounts to sort of learn what he should maybe adjust to get to the top, and it pays off now with a lead in the class and only one left to challenge. Sexy Beast in Ireland's Paul O'Shea coming to us. The youngest horse in the jump off here, 7 years of age, and an entry owned by Eye Candy Jumpers. Paul was last year's Split Rock winner in the Kentucky Invitational there in Lexington as a part of the Kentucky 3-day events that we've been so happy to be, again, involved with in 2019. A 7-year-old horse can outdo the 10-year-old Fessibel. That'd be certainly a feather in their cap, especially in a fairly recent acquisition here for Irish rider Paul O'Shea from Eye Candy Jumpers. Turning back to number 16. I don't believe they've got the pace to do it, but we'll see. Yeah, a little bit behind they will be, but a clear round is definitely something to be proud of. 41.954. Sexy Beast time is clear, and we'll go into 6th place. We'll have Ireland 6th and 7th at this point with Paul O'Shea and Dylan Daly respectively. But the podium spots will be among our U.S. riders, all in that 39-second range. 39.139 for Carl Cook and Fessibel, 39.191 for Trap O'Neill and Baltazar, 39.362 for Tori Colvin and Hashi. We've got a rider from California, from Texas, and from Florida. So our top 3 span the continent, and they will be the ones who lead the way in the podium positions coming up here when the presentation gets underway. We'll have that coming up for you. Don't go far.
Well, set to welcome our top 8 in reverse order for this wrestling. 1:35 this afternoon. 8th place went to Carl Cook. We'll see him in a moment because he's at the other end of the line. Dylan Daly in 7th place with the Eye Candy Jumpers Wildflower. 6th go to Paul O'Shea, and a lovely round with Sexy Beast for Paul O'Shea. 5th place go to Carl Cook. He continues to pad out this lineup with Caillou in 5th. Penny Brennan in the end in 4th with Hell's Angel. 3rd place going the way of Tori Colvin and Hashi. While 2nd, long-time leader but just pipped to the post, Trap O'Neill finishes in 2nd with Baltazar DZ. And the winner of this wrestling 135 Prix this afternoon, congratulations to Carl Cook and Fessibel. And delighted to welcome our presentation team on behalf of wrestling, Karina Addison and Aaliyah Kidd, all making their congratulations to our top few. And coming forward for their photos, congratulations to our winner. Thanks to Wrestling for their continued support here. And Derek Braun, our event director and founder of the Split Rock Jumping Tour, joining our presentation party. Carl Cook with 3 spins the jump off, saves the best till last. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as is traditional of our ceremonies, may we ask you to stand for the national anthem of our winning rider here for this Wrestling Prix this afternoon. It is congratulations to Carl Cook for the United States of America. Well done, and sets up for the victory gallop. He'll be busy in our international classes next week, so watch out for that. But our national winner here this afternoon to lead off our lineup for the Wrestling Prix. Congratulations. He takes a good chunk of this afternoon's prize money, but the lion's share of it going to his winning ride, Carl Cook and Fessibel. Good finish, and congratulations to Carl Cook, and good luck for the rest of the week. Well done. and neatly put together and bodes well for week 2 for the Columbus International. Well, of course, money goes up next week as well in that department too. Closes out our Saturday sunny afternoon here as part of the Split Rock Jumping Tour. But, of course, there is the crescendo to come. We're going to get a word from Carl himself, and, of course, who else better to do it than Brian Lookerbill.
All right, we're going to try something a little bit new here. Carl is currently groomless. He had 2 other horses that had to be taken back to the barn. So here we are on my announcing platform. I just want to find out from Carl real quick about that ride, and I'll just hand the mic to you here real quick so you can tell us about it.
I mean, I had 3 in the jump off, so, and, you know, I went fastest on my 3rd, so I had the experience of the first 2, and I felt where I could have, you know, been faster and quicker. You know, there are places where I added and I didn't need to. So with the 3rd one, you know, with that experience, it helps. And, you know, I just left strides out where I added with the previous horses, and thankfully it worked. And yeah.
You know what, the one thing I will say, though, Carl, is no matter how quick you are deceivingly fast, because as we're watching you involved in your ride. So it goes back to all of those basics, I guess, from very early on in your career that's carried through, I guess, in any win.
Yeah, I mean, Eric always taught me the better you can ride your track, the less it looks like you're riding your track. And when you have the best track, it just, you're faster without having to do anything dangerous. You're just faster.
Well, you've proven that. Lots of wins in the Welcome and Grand Prix in past years in our Split Rock Jumping Tour, and that's just, again, a little bit of success over the course of your career. So here, our Saturday National Prix. Congratulations on another win. And signature, not necessarily fist bump, but you got to show us those golden flowing locks on your way around. So nice job. That was certainly signature. We're going to wrap up for the day. Thank you very much. Good luck going into our final day here in Columbus.